Defense Minister condoles victims of Kaduna bombing, pledges federal government support. And over 30 people killed in fresh Taraba violence clash. Nigeria's external reserves fall by $1.65 billion in 6 months. And on the foreign scene, ex-Prime Minister Johnson apologizes to UK COVID victims' families. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. My name is Chiamaka Nendu. Thank you for joining in. The Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawale, says that the armed forces will not relent in fighting criminal elements and adversaries of the nation. And Matawale said this on Tuesday when he was visiting victims of the Nigerian Army drone attack who were receiving treatment at the Barau Diko Teaching Hospital in Kaduna. And Matawale was accompanied by the visit of the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, the Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff and other senior military officers. And Matawale said that the visit, which was to ensure succor to the victims and their families, was directed by President Bola Tinubu.
He directed all of us to come to this hospital to visit the victims of these unfortunate incidents that happens of bombing at Tudumbiri in Igabi local government, Kaduna State, which we have assessed some of the victims, we have seen them, and the ministry will take care and charge of all the bills of these victims. And arrangement is going to be made to make sure that these incidents will never occur again, inshallah. And to our actions, because these criminals, we must defeat them by God's grace. So we are going to continue fighting the criminals till we succeeded on fighting against banditry and other criminalities in this country. Therefore, it is just an unfortunate incident that happens, and God has already destined that this will happen, and it has happened. All we'll do is to pray for the deceased who already gone, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless them with Al-Jannah to Firdaus, and for those in the hospital to have a quick recovery.
And in the meantime, the Jamaatul Nasril Islam has expressed sadness over the army's airstrike at Tundumbiri village in the Gabi local government area that claimed the lives of over 85 people and left 66 others injured. And the airstrike intended to flush out terrorists who had on Sunday night accidentally hit civilians during their Maulud celebration. And with growing condemnation from various quarters, Amnesty International, who visited the scene, confirmed there could be more who lost their lives in the incident. And JNI, in a statement on Wednesday by the Secretary General, Professor Khalid Aliyu, expressed disbelief that the military could kill innocent civilians in such a manner without due diligence being carried out before such operations in line with standard operating procedures of the military. And on his part, the Arawa Consultative Forum called for a thorough investigation into the bombing incident as well as compensation for the victims. The statement said the ACF is perplexed and deeply disturbed by such an operation could be contemplated and executed in a densely populated area, thereby suggesting an inexcusable, scandalous, and possibly incompetent failure of intelligence. And away from Kaduna, 33 people, including settled Fulani herdsmen and farmers, were killed in fresh killings in 3 villages of Bali local government area in Taraba State. And according to Daily Trust reporting, 21 persons were killed at Gabatau village, 10 others at Ganfito, and 3 persons killed in Hawan Mata, all in Bali local government area 2 days ago. And the killings were linked to 3 Fulani herdsmen vigilante groups that targeted Fulani herdsmen who settled in the area years ago. And sources say after the attacks, hundreds of Fulani herdsmen had fled into or with their cows into neighboring Adamo estate. And similarly, many cows were said to be rustled and more than 30 motorcycles belonging to those killed were carted away. And Daily Trust reporter in Taraba, Magaji Hunkuni, gives us an update.
No, this attack is different from what happened in southern Taraba, that is in local government. This one, it has to do with the military, because we are told that the attackers were a vigilante group or Fulani group who went to fish out or to attack bandits and their informants. That was what we heard, but we don't know whether it is true. It has nothing to do with religion or ethnicity, because attackers are mostly Fulani and the victims are mostly Fulani. So there were a few houses who are living within the area where the attack took place. To this moment, there is no statement from either the government or the police or army, because I waited for almost for 1 day. Yesterday, at around 11, I got the report and I did my report. I called the PPRO. He kept me waiting. Up to this moment, he didn't respond. Then the army, the spokesperson of the 6th Army Brigade in Jalingo, Lieutenant Onichu, I contacted him. He told me that he will call me back, but up to this moment, he didn't call me back. As far as this one is concerned, there is no any religion or ethnic attachment to it. It is purely issue of banditry.
And farmers in Jalingo, the Taraba state capital, have appealed to the state government to find a lasting solution to the challenges posed by the activities of herdsmen on their farms. And they made the appeal while speaking to Trust TV on some of the challenges facing agricultural activities in the state. The report.
Farming and rearing of animals are some of the activities that attracts people from different parts of the country to Taraba state for business transactions. While some come for the rainy season farming, some come for the dry season farming, while others visit the state for rearing of animals due to the nature of the state. The state is blessed with a potential rainfall which allows the grasses to stay for a long time in the area, a situation which attracts both farmers and herdsmen across the country, with a majority of them being Fulanis from the far north. However, farmers in the state have been complaining that herdsmen have been destroying their farms due to the onslaught of their animals. According to them, despite staying in their farms from dawn to sunset to protect their farm produce, the herdsmen who invade their farms with sophisticated weapons have continued to be a major setback to their farming business. They lamented that even with such cases being reported to the police or taken to the courts, nothing will be done to address the situation.
We invested so much into especially maize, but now, where I was expecting like 100 bags of maize, I only came back with just about 10 bags of maize. And mostly due to that, herders, they finished everything.
The herdsmen usually invade our farms and allow their animals to graze on our crops. The sad part is that even when you report to the authorities, nothing will be done. When we try to defend ourselves, we will be overpowered because they always wield sophisticated weapons. We are facing so many challenges, ranging from high cost of petroleum, herdsmen attack, as well as increase in price of farm implement, among others. But the major challenge is that of the herdsmen. They will not come to our farms now because there are still few fresh grasses for grazing. But as soon as the grasses are gone, precisely between January and February, they will push their animals to our dry season farms because they know they will have fresh plants and water for their animals. Government should do something about it. The chairman, Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria in the state, Tanko Bobo Andami, called for the government regulations of the activities of herdsmen and the farmers to address the age-long crisis between the two groups.
It is the responsibility of the government to preserve this cattle route so that as governments benefit from the grains cultivated by the farmers, they also benefit from the revenue from the cattle. So it is the responsibility of the government to come out clearly with cattle route and grazing areas.
Attempts to speak with the security agencies on steps taken to address the issue were not successful.
And the police inspector has been arrested in Delta State after allegedly shooting a motorist in Agbaro Ugeli North Local Government area of Delta State. The unnamed inspector was arrested by the Delta State Police Command a day after the tragic shooting of the victim identified as Lucky while on stop and search duty. And this was disclosed in a statement on Wednesday by the police public relations officer in the state, Bright Adafe. Edafe said the Commissioner of Police in Delta State, Wale Abbas, on receipt of the sad news, immediately ordered the arrest and detention of the errant police officer. Abbas also directed that the officer be immediately transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department, Asaba, for a thorough and speedy investigation. And the Commissioner of the Police also assured that the offending officer will be subjected to internally disciplinary measures, including criminal prosecution. And the three-member panel of the Economic Community of West African State, ECOWAS Court of Justice, has ordered the government of the Republic of Benin to pay Sunday Adeyemo, popularly called Iboho, 20 million CFA for unlawful detention. The court ordered that the money should be paid within 3 months. Iboho had on February the 10th filed for an application before the court challenging his arrest and detention in the French-speaking country. The ECOWAS court also directed the country to comply with its orders and revert to the court with evidence of payment. Iboho was arrested alongside his wife Rokpo in Cotonou, Benin Republic, and detained at the request of the Nigerian government. The Yoruba Nation agitator had fled Nigeria after the Department of State Services raided his residence in Ibadan, Oyo State, on the 1st of July. And point-of-sale operators have returned to buying cash from traders and petrol stations attendants as banks suffer from a shortage of Naira cash. Consequently, some operators have increased their transaction charges by 100% from 100 Naira to 200 Naira for cash of 5,000 Naira. And Nigerian banks are struggling to pay customers who want to withdraw money due to a cash shortage in the banking system. And some banks in Lagos, particularly those in Surulere, Mushin, Kirikiri, Maza-Maza, and Ejigbo, among other areas, were seen rationing Naira cash to their customers. The Central Bank of Nigeria said the seeming cash scarcity in some locations was due largely to high-volume withdrawals from the CBN branches by deposit money banks and panic withdrawals by customers from the ATMs. And joining us live via phone call to give an update on the Naira scarcity in Lagos is Daily Trust Bureau Chief South Abiodun Alade. Hello, Alade. Thank you for joining us on the news this afternoon.
Thank you for having me this afternoon.
Can you give us a picture of what's going on? What's the current situation there, having impacted activities of Lagosians, and what are the people saying about this?
So what we have in Lagos as of this morning is the situation where we have scarcity of cash, and then we most banks have started rationing cash. So if you go to the banking hall, at most you might be allowed to take as little as 5,000 naira, and so some of the ATMs that are also working, they don't give more than 40,000 naira per day. But the most disappointing part is that in some banks where you have like 7, 8 machines, you will discover that only 2 or maybe 1 is even working. So, and then you have long queues, so people are resorting to POS and POS agent, and this has also affected businesses because of the charges. And so what we have now is scarcity of cash. And it's not just in Lagos State, in the entire Southwest, it seems to be something that we are battling with. I think in the South, it is only in the South that scarcity of cash is not pronounced, except in Edo State, where they also have scarcity. But for other states in the South, Rivers, Bayelsa, I think they seem to have enough cash. But majorly in the South, there is scarcity of cash as of today.
It is quite obvious that POS operators have become the lifeline for people, but is there a sense that people are now relying more on digital or electronic means of transactions?
Yes, so people have been advised that they should make use of the alternative means of banking or of cash, which some people have started doing. But then you know that due to the situation that we have in our country, there are some transactions that cannot be done digitally. Because of the volume of cash that is involved, maybe something you want to buy for 100 naira, 200 naira, and you have especially for the roadside sellers. So they are actually battling with the issue of not having cash, or some of their customers not having cash. So people are making use of transfer where they can, but for those businesses, those transactions that cannot be done to transfer, they still have to resort to cash. They have to go to the POS agent to be able to actually make cash, to actually get cash.
But what is your reading of the situation? Is it getting any better? And are the authorities managing it well?
Well, the situation is a bit confusing and dicey, because the CBN actually claimed that we have at least 2.9 trillion naira in circulation. That is the currency that is in circulation. And when you look at this figure, this is almost the same figure that we had before the naira redesign, when we had about 3. I think then we had just about 3.2 billion trillion rather, about 3.2 trillion then. But now we have about 2.9 trillion, and then we still have this scarcity. So for the banks, I have spoken with some top officials in some of the commercial banks, and their complaint is that people are not depositing money, that people are withdrawing, and then very few people are depositing. So which make it very difficult for the money to actually circulate back to the banking system. But I actually believe that the CBN is trying to see how they can bring in more cash into the system. But from the Apex Bank, they believe that we have enough cash in the system because about 2.9 trillion naira are in circulation as at October, which was the last time that they gave us the data of the money that is in circulation.
Thank you for your update, Alade. And this is Trust News Update, coming up after the break. Price volatility destabilizing soya beans market despite bomber harvest in Kano. And more news when we return, to stay tuned.
This is Africa Update on Trust TV. I am Ayuba. Thanks for joining.
Rest of Africa, stand and make sure that our people understand.
And the story of the OAU can be told and retold. It cannot be denied that it made a contribution to the process of decolonization of the continent in many ways.
Ethiopia is where it is today in no small part because of the tireless efforts of the African Union and the wisdom of its deeply held belief in the principle of African solution to African problems.
The bulk of African countries were under colonial rule in 1945. So they did not take part in the negotiations that established the Bretton Woods institutions.
But the African continent is not included in the South-South relations. And therefore, our objective is to ensure that the Africa Free Trade Agreement is actually implemented. And the BRICS countries, all of them are trading with Africa.
And we know that there are resources in Sudan, especially in Darfur. And that is why Darfur has been on the front burner for a long time.
So Cameroonians are anxious, Cameroonians are impatient, Cameroonians are like, oh, many of the guys are not talking today. You can read it all over the social media.
Egypt has officially declined to accept fleeing Palestinians for fear that the more Palestinians you accept across the border into Egypt, the more trouble there may be for the country in the nearest and farthest future.
Welcome back, and this is Trust News Update. And here is a recap of our major stories. Defense Minister condoles victims of Kaduna bombing, pledges federal government support. And over 30 people killed in fresh Taraba violent clash. And moving on now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has called for increased budgetary allocation to enable it intensify its fight against corruption in the country. The chairman of the anti-graft agency, Ola Olukoyede, made the call while defending the agency's budget in Abuja. The report.
According to Olukoyede, the EFCC has been facing numerous challenges in carrying out its mandate due to limited resources, as the agency's current budgetary allocation is not commensurate with the scale and complexity of corruption cases it deals with on a daily basis. He emphasized the urgent need for increased funding and oversight by the committee.
We are going to work in collaboration with the committee. The job of the committee is to oversight, the implementation of this budget as well. Step by step, point by point, monthly basis, quarterly basis, we have put mechanism in place to ensure that if we give you the opportunity to have your approval for our total proposal, we also want to confirm that it will be implemented to the last couple.
The chairman of the House Committee on Financial Crimes, Ginger Obinna, noted that it is the responsibility of the committee to carry out oversight functions, as this will address any loophole in the agency.
All the ongoing projects are already completed. I want to know the reason why this reduction. If you look at it, in 2023, you have 2,537,086.00. Now in 2024, you have 1,241,237,267.00. A difference of 1,200 and something, 80-something million thereabout. So this is a very big shift from what you had in 2023.
House Committee on Financial Crimes, while meeting with the Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit (NFIU), the chairman also urged its members to unite in their commitment to safeguarding the economic prosperity of the nation, recognizing that the collaboration with the NFIU is instrumental to achieving their common goal. He added that together they can build a resilient financial system that stands as a beacon of trust and integrity.
And despite the bumper harvest of soybeans during this year's wet season farming in Kano, farmers say soybeans is still scarce in the market due to the evaluation of the Nigerian grown soybeans for export. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibrin reports that merchants are storming agro-commodities market in the state to mop up soybeans for export. His report.
Inside Dawano International Grains Market in Kano, trucks loads of soybeans are waiting to be transported to different parts of the country. Some to factories for processing, others for foreign exports. According to traders in the market, this year's soybeans price started at about 300,000 naira price per ton. But due to the high demand by the exporters, the price jumped to over 400,000 naira per ton.
2 months back ago, we bought the back of the soybeans 37,000, but right now, presently, the price is increased. It's past 40,000. Now we sell it, we buy it 42,000. Sometimes if we bring it here, we sell it 44, 43, 45. This is the price that we have now.
In Dawano Grains Market, soybeans have become a hot commodity sought after by many companies, resulting in a rise in the price to an alarming level, in addition to steep competition among local oil millers. We had stable price from the beginning of this year's dry season. During that time, we are selling a bag of soybeans at the cost of 30,000 naira, 33,000 naira, at worst 35,000 naira. But as I'm talking to you now, we are selling a bag of soybeans at between 43,000, 44,000 naira up to 45,000 naira. So the price keeps on increasing. There is no standard price. Today you will come to the market, you hear a different price. Tomorrow if you come back to the market, you will hear another price. But in general term, the price is increasing on daily basis. Although soybeans farmers had recorded a bumper harvest this year, traders say the demand has also increased largely due to the activities of exporters.
Well,
actually, there is no standard price, and the reason why the price of soybeans is increasing because we have so many factories, indigenous factories that are into oil processing mill. Those companies used to come here to buy the soybeans in large quantity. There are also agents of different foreign countries that also used to come and buy the soybeans for export. This all together accumulated and make the price to jump higher. So at the moment, the price is at the top level actually. So far, market leaders say since there is no law prohibiting the exportation of the commodity, the development relating to soybeans may indeed continue to threaten Nigeria's food security. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
And in business, Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves has depleted by $1.6 billion to $32.9 billion in 6 months. And this is in response to efforts by the central bank to align the nation's foreign exchange rate has raised concerns amid ongoing foreign currency fluctuations. The Central Bank of Nigeria had introduced a new forex regulation back on the 14th of July, I beg your pardon, prompting deposit money banks to eliminate the rate cap on the naira at the official investors and exporters window. And away from Nigeria now, the former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Wednesday apologized for the pain, loss and suffering caused by the COVID-19 pandemic as he began giving evidence at a public inquiry into his government's handling of the health crisis. And Johnson, who has faced a barrage of criticism from former aides for alleged indecisiveness and a lack of scientific understanding during the pandemic, is facing 2 days in the witness box. And the former PM, who was forced out of office last year over lockdown breaching parties held in Downing Street during the pandemic, accepted that mistakes had unquestionably been made.
Can I just say how glad I am to be at this inquiry and how sorry I am for the pain and the loss, that I understand the feelings of these victims and their families, and I am deeply sorry for the pain and the loss and the suffering of those victims and their families.
And with that, we've come to the end of Trust News Update. Do well to follow us across all our social media platforms and join our YouTube live stream for more news, programs and documentaries. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Thank you for watching.